What's happening, YouTube? Center this a little bit. There we go. You know me, I get things stuck in my head and I just can't let it go, and this has been bugging me for the last 3 days. So, as you can tell in the title, only the lonely suffer in silence. And before I get into this, and I give you some insight as to how to better deal with being broken, because that's what this video is for. It's for the broken. And if you're wondering what broken is, the psychiatrists call it complex PTSD. And if you've been in the military and been at war, they just call it PTSD. The difference between the two is the complex variety comes from a tough childhood. Like in war, you go through trauma, whether it's physical abuse or injury, or seeing things that you shouldn't see that leave scars on the inside. It's broken. PTSD. Call it whatever you want. But before I get into what helps, I got to give you background. Street cred, as they say. Nobody's going to listen if they don't think you have credibility. And trust me when I say I got some street cred. So, having said all that, let me get started. I was born to a woman who was single, and when she brought me home from the hospital, I lived with Mom, Grandpa, Uncle Mike, and Aunt Sharon. Sorry, I got a lot in my head to organize. Try to figure out how to get this all out chronologically so it all makes sense. So anyway, we all lived in a 2-bedroom house. Grandpa was divorced. Mom was the oldest of 3, and she was the woman of the house from the age of 12. She had put a son up for adoption before I was born, someone I never met, learned about that through Ancestry, and I'll get into some of that later. But Grandpa told her, you can keep this one and stay here, but if you get pregnant again, you're out. And she did. But my first life experience was living with Mom, Grandpa, Uncle Mike, and Aunt Sharon. Grandpa was a tough old bird. He worked 2 jobs. He was a merchant marine at one time in his life, and he worked at Kaiser's shipyards in San Francisco and was a janitor at night in San Francisco. Paid off his house. So when Mom hooked up with my brother's dad, who wasn't my dad, she got pregnant with my brother James and had to move out. And she moved from my best memory into this little 1-bedroom apartment in Redwood. And I can remember being about 5, and me and my brothers were 1.5 years apart, and I was the oldest, living in this little apartment in the ghetto on welfare, food stamps, and cockroaches. And we lived with my brother's dad, James Sr., and he was a very angry person. He had pushed my head in a bowl of soup or the toilet, and my brother James got the other one. I don't remember which is which, but I know that happened. And then my brother's dad got in a bunch of bar fights. And Mom told me once that when he went to court one of the last times for getting in bar fights, the judge said, I'm going to register your hands as deadly weapons, and you get in another bar fight, it's assault with a deadly weapon. So eventually he gets into it with the apartment manager where we lived, and I was told he pulled a pellet gun on the guy or something. I don't know the details, but long story short, he went to San Quentin, I think for 2 years. And Mom was in this little one-bedroom apartment with 3 boys, no support. She had no job skills. So we were on welfare. Mom told me once that, because I asked her, where's the money come from? You don't have a job. And she said, Grandpa paid taxes, and out of his taxes, they help people who have no money with welfare. Okay. So while we were living in this little one-bedroom apartment, Mom had a nervous breakdown, as they call it. We were in a car, this big old Buick, and she was laughing, like crazy laughing. She blew through an intersection and T-boned an old couple in another car, and cops and fire department, everybody shows up, and they took us to the foster homes for the first time. A lot of these memories get kind of jumbled, and some of them are real clear. Back in those days, it was hard to find a foster home to take 3 boys all at the same time. So they put my 2 brothers in one foster home and me in another one. And a lot of foster homes are short-term placement. They don't want to keep somebody for a long time because they get attached. I bounced around a lot. 15 different foster homes from the age of 5 till 18. When I was a kid in the foster homes, I didn't talk about it. I just tried to be normal like everybody else. Tried to front like nothing was wrong. I didn't tell kids in school that I lived in a foster home. They just thought they were my mom and dad like everybody else. I remember one time telling a kid that he asked me, how come your parents have a different last name? I said, because they're my foster parents. And this kid goes, does that mean you live in Foster City? At the time I lived in San Mateo, and the adjacent city was called Foster City. And I laughed, I said no. And I had to explain to him that, you know, when things don't work out in your family and you got nowhere to go and you're just a little kid, they put you in a foster home to take care of you. They're like babysitters. It was embarrassing. You know, I didn't want to tell people Mom had issues, but that was the reality of my life. And like I said, I just tried to pretend like I was like everybody else. Suffering in silence, as they say. There came a time when Mom was trying to get it together, and she had to get a certificate for Housing Authority, Section 8. She had to get her food stamps, and she had to get her welfare check to take care of me, right? She had a check for her, but when I came home, she got a check for me too, kind of thing. And during that time, I used to go and visit Mom once a month. Social worker would, struggling today. Social worker would come by, pick me up, bring me over to Mom. I'd spend a couple days with her, and then she'd pick me up and bring me back Sunday night so I could go to school on Monday. So it was for the weekend, one weekend visit a month. There was a time where the county was pushing Mom to put us up for adoption, but she said, there's no way, I'm not giving up on my boys. So Mom got her certificate and her welfare check and everything, and I moved back home. And it was exciting for me. I was real happy to be home. During that process of her getting her shit together, there was a setback. Mom had another nervous breakdown when the date was getting close for me to come home, and social worker shows up, and I knew I was supposed to be moving back home with Mom, and she said, hey, I got some bad news, your mom passed away, which wasn't true. But this social worker in her divine wisdom thought it would be better for me to get over moving back home with Mom and the disappointment and just let it all go. Social worker ended up getting fired. Mom ended up getting her shit together a little later, months, year later, I don't know. And I moved home. And I was about 11, 12. We lived in this little shit apartment in the hood. It was a black neighborhood, predominantly. Black, Hispanic, and then white. Johnny was legitimately white trash, right? We lived upstairs from this old black guy, Willie. He dressed real nice, wore a vest, gold chains and jewelry, and had a Cadillac, but he lived in Section 8, right? I don't know what Willie's story was, but he lived right below us. I was playing in the carport one day, and Willie chatted me up, and I went upstairs and, hey, Mom, I met Willie. She got real upset. Face turned red. Fuck that guy. Proceeded to tell me what Willie did to her. I don't have to say it. But Willie got Mom drunk and figured he was entitled to take what he wanted, and he did. So when Mom got upset, she proceeds to tell me this. I grabbed a ball-peen hammer that my uncle gave me, little toolkit he gave me to work on my bicycle, and was going to go get at Willie, and Mom said, you can't do that. Who's going to take care of me and your brothers? Only the lonely. See, the thing is, I got to explain the background because you folks out there that have been through it, or you folks out there that know somebody that's been through it, all of our stories are different, but the scars are the same. And there's hope, right? Some people don't ever get past their childhood. It breaks them in a way where they pass away. Well, I guess the light went off. They pass away early in life for one reason or another. Drug addiction, violence, you name it. Some people don't get past their childhood. And the ones that do carry those scars with them their whole life. being broken. I got a lot of things that broke me over the years, and I'm not going to get into all of them. There's too many. This video would be 10 hours long. And once again, it doesn't matter what broke you. It's what you do with it. You need purpose. Folks that have been to the military, I follow quite a few. Mike Rowland, Sean Ryan, Jocko. I can go on and on about people that have served the military and have PTSD, and they all say the same thing. You need a purpose in life. Growing up through my childhood and most of my adult life, I didn't consider myself broken. I just pretended to be like everybody else. Was around a lot of people my whole life. A lot of different jobs and careers. A bouncer, a limo driver. I always had 2 or 3 jobs. First job was throwing newspapers at 12 when I lived with Mom. Then I worked at a car wash, saving up money to buy my first car. Lied on the application. I was paying taxes when I was 15 years old. 62 and I'm still paying taxes. I might be retired, but I'm still paying taxes. So anyway, I just tried to pretend to be like everybody else. I didn't want people to know about my childhood. I didn't want to think about my childhood. Just suffering in silence. I guess the light went back on. But eventually, those demons come home to roost, and they manifest in bad ways. Behavior problems. For me, it was anger. Even as a kid, I was pretty angry, but I kept it all inside until I blew up. And that didn't happen very often because I didn't want to get in trouble and go into the foster home. I always had that hanging over my head. Living in that apartment with Mom and Willie downstairs, eventually my brothers came home. We got another apartment in the same building, a 2-bedroom. Me and my brothers shared a room, and Mom had the other room. And by this time, I was a little older. Now I was in junior high school and started growing a set, and Mom just wasn't right. She drank. We had an arrangement. We'd bring 420 home, and Mom would buy up for us as long as we drank the booze at the house. So I partied with my mom when I was a young kid, you know. And one day I had to go to school, and I needed a clean shirt. Mom said, just grab one out the dirty clothes. I said, I ain't gonna do that. I cared about how I looked. And I slipped and said, fuck you, to Mom for the first time. Slapped the shit out of me. Slapped me once. I said, did that feel good? Do it again. And she did. Went through that about 3 times, and then I grabbed her by her wrist, set her on the couch. I matured real early in life. I was a big kid in grammar school, one of the biggest. Height-wise, size-wise, I was, hit puberty real young. So anyway, I set Mom in the couch and said, you're never gonna touch me again. She got all angry, called the social worker and said I was incorrigible. The social worker came, put me back in the foster home. But my brothers stayed there. So to speed things up, later in life, moved out. I'm on my own. Got a couple of jobs. Got an apartment, paying my own bills, taking care of myself. Can barely read, dyslexic, barely got through high school. As a young man, I thought I was a little slow, retarded, whatever, until I saw a special on TV, Valerie Bertinelli talking about dyslexia, after school special or something. And once I saw that, and they were explaining how you switch things around, and 1, 2, 3 is 3, 2, 1, and ABC is CBA, and I recognized that and immediately knew I wasn't retarded. I was dyslexic. Because I always knew I was smarter than most of the other kids. They would do real dumb shit, but I couldn't read. And when you're in school and you got to get on that little bus and they send you off to a special ed class because you can't read as good as the other kids, it gives you an inferiority complex. And then when I was a working man, I had a lot of driving jobs. Truck driver. One of my first real steady jobs, I ran parts. Worked for International Harvester, delivering truck parts and picking up truck parts. And then I had another driving job, delivering bottled water, the Alhambra man kind of thing. Except the company I worked for was called Black Mountain Water. I was a Teamster truck driver, was in a union, paid dues. I was a Teamster. Had a buddy who was a union plumber. He said, "Hey man, I could hook you up a job being a sheet metal worker. You're only gonna make so much money driving truck, and if you get into construction, you'll make a lot more money." So I did, got into the sheet metal union, took a big cut in pay as an apprentice, but I knew my income would double once I finished my apprenticeship. Had to go to school 2 nights a week, 5 days a week. No, excuse me. 2 nights a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Mondays and Wednesdays for 4 hours a night for 4.5 years. In 4.5 years, I only missed 1 class. I was very dedicated to getting my journeyman's card. And I was very disciplined as a young man. I didn't have nobody to learn me. I just knew what I had to do, and nobody was going to do it for me, so I did. Became a union sheet metal worker, got a pension from them, beat up my body, my right lung collapsed, I had my spine fused, bad knees, bad this, bad that, all kinds of nonsense. So I was pushed into an early retirement, so my pension ain't what it should be. Also got my Social Security from paying taxes for 50 years. But through all that, I lived in denial, right? I didn't realize how broken I was. This anger in me. And then when I got into retirement, it started getting worse. I moved up to the foothills of California, into the gold country, with me and my little dog, Kimba. Bought a little single-wide mobile home in a mobile home park. And knew there was something wrong. My ex-old lady said to me once, "Why are you so angry? You used to be so nice." I didn't know. I made a video on YouTube when I was trying to get my shit together. I was drinking and wanted to quit drinking and work out and get on track so I could get my little pit bull dog rescue off the ground, and I knew I was blowing it. The workman's comp case took a lot out of me. I was very stressed out, and I started drinking. and got pretty bad for a couple years. Watched this idiot Wes Watson on YouTube talking about, accountability, and it's not about you, and all this con man bullshit. It spoke to me because I needed to fix what was broken. My most popular video was a Wes Watson video talking about how do I fix this broken. Didn't realize I was talking to the wrong person. So I had to figure it out. I had to learn about this complex PTSD. I learned a great deal on YouTube about a lot of things. And through this video, I hope I can help somebody else out to get on the right track. See, the whole thing is you need a purpose. For me, it was these dogs. My little dog, Kimba, gave me love. Something that was sorely lacking in my life. And through that, gave me purpose. Ex-old lady used to watch pit bulls and parolees, and she used to say, oh, I'm going to have a dog rescue one day. And that stuck with me, and it never left. It burned in me. So I threw caution to the wind, moved up to the foothills as a stepping stone to try to figure out how I'm going to start this dog rescue. Time goes by, hook up with somebody on YouTube, and learned about this little town. More long story, I'm not going to get into all that. I've already done it many times. But that's how I learned about this piece of property. I live on 30 acres in northern Wisconsin. Brought me and my 2 dogs up here. I got Kimba, my dog. I got her mother later when the wife left her behind at this drug dealer's house, and then she went and lived with this other drug dealer, and then she ended up dying on this dude's toilet, vomiting blood on the floor because her organs were leaking from alcoholism. I tried to get her to move in with me and the dogs, told her she could have the guest room, but she couldn't drink and she couldn't use dope. Vodka and methamphetamine was her purpose, and it took her early. I think Sonny was maybe 50 years old when she died. So anyway, I moved to this piece of property because of my purpose. Still had a lot to learn, and I still learn more and more every day. Things didn't work out here for me. Anybody that's followed for a while, you know why. And if you're new, seeing this for the first time, I moved into a little tiny town in northern Wisconsin from California and wasn't welcome here. And my 2 dogs have since passed away. I'm stuck here all alone. And now I'm going to move back home. But the one thing that keeps me going is my purpose. Even if it's only 1 dog, I got a purpose. I know it makes me feel better. The moral to this story, no matter what you've been through in life, you need a purpose. Your purpose needs to come from your passion, not your paycheck. I spent my whole life chasing money, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Being poor, I used to buy a lot of clothes because as a kid, I had hand-me-downs. So I had a problem with shopping, retail therapy. Chase your passion. Forget about the money. Find a way to find your purpose and stay on it. It's the only thing that helps with being broken. That's the one thing I know for sure. When my dogs died, my angry side has subsided a great deal. It still bubbles in there, but nothing like it used to be. This complex PTSD never goes away. You'll never cure your broken, but you can find a way to manage it. And the best way to do that is find your purpose in life. I can't tell you what that is. I don't know who you are. I don't know what gets you off in life. You know, what puts a smile on your face. My dogs put a smile on my face. And if you have children, dedicate your life to your kids. They are your purpose. Don't do your kids like my mom did me. Mom was broken. Wasn't her fault. She was a product of her environment. I was a product of mine. And you are of yours. That's just part of life, man. Nothing you can do about that. But you're in control of your destiny, not your broken. You find your purpose, you'll be all right. Stay on it. Stay after it. Don't take no for an answer and stay sober. I left a lot out. There's a lot more I could say. But you got to find your way. Everything I've been through on this piece of property really broke me some more. And I had given up on my purpose for a short time. And then I pulled my head out of my ass, and my purpose has never changed. I've been on this for 13 years. I was talking about this 13 years ago. I was driven. I made a big mistake moving to this piece of property. It's a beautiful piece of property, but I should have done my homework. So I failed this time. And even if I don't leave here and I die here because my health is lousy, it's okay, because I got my purpose. And I'll stay on that. It's what keeps me sober. It's what keeps me sane. It's what keeps me from being angry. So trust me when I say, find your purpose and you'll be all right. All right, I'm gonna get off this gadget, but before I do, something else that helps with your broken. Kind act for a stranger. Charity. Helping somebody else will help you with your broken. Putting somebody else's needs in front of yours will help you with your broken. It does me. And I've done it many times in life, but I didn't know what I was doing or why. I just did it instinctually because it helped me to feel better. So, kind act for a stranger. Go to your local dog shelter and take a dog for a walk. Who knows, you might fall in love. Homeless person on the street, a cup of coffee and a donut, and tell them you care, goes a long way for you, not just them. The world needs that now more than ever. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.